Hello and welcome. We're starting a little late this evening. We had some technical issues. Welcome to Angel-meadows, and tonight's show is about the akashic records, past lives, past life readings, and everything that this entails. I have a few questions, but this is my guest this evening, Scott-Stevenson, Pam-Jackson, or Pam, and Candy-Odonnell. So, Scott, since you were the last one in the group, I'm going to make you introduce yourself and tell
thank
us
you
a bit
very
about
much.
yourself. I'm going to torture you first.
I'm a qualified clinical hypnotherapist. Done lots of past life regressions. Follow a spiritual path. I don't really have a title, but I used to be a sort of spiritualist, but I'm also got parts of Wiccan, parts, all sorts of other stuff we've followed. I'm a healer, hypnotherapist, medium, do all sorts of stuff. We're extra large. Married, 3 kids, live in the southwest of England, from Scotland. Got a wee scabby feral Akita puppy, 8 months old, and a big old 7-year-old boy, who both make my life hell. That do?
Yes, it does, but where would you be without the Akitas? And of course, all the women in your life.
Yes, 3 daughters. I was a very bad man in a previous life, I think.
You're very blessed in this life. Deal with it, dude.
Very something.
Oh, I was gonna say James. Candy.
Yeah, I don't
James,
know how in the world that happened. You know, it's connected with my son's phone. And actually, for a long time, I was getting his messages, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to see this anymore. He's 20. So you can
No, we don't want to see the 20-year-old messages.
No, definitely. So I am married with 2 adult children. I have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old. Been married for 24 years. I'm a writer. I read past lives, do past life regressions, psychic medium, talk to animals, surrounded by 7 critters in our tiny little house, which I love to death. And I have my own group, Psychic Candy-Odonnell, on Facebook, and I love helping people. It's just something I do. I'm also a writer, if I didn't mention that.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we're going to get you there. We're going to get you back on for the writing.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get everybody's LinkedIn to the chat room because, like I said, it's saved. So, Pamela.
Hello.
Hello, sweetie. You want to introduce yourself already?
Hi, everybody. My name is Pam. Basically, I guess I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm a natural intuitive empath and a healer. I was born with the gift of healing hands. It wasn't until 2012 that I started actually learning how to do akashic record readings for other people. But I actually remember my own past lives. Even when I was a child, I remember past lives. So I do readings and I do teachings. I'm a Theta Healer teacher and EFT, and I do psychic readings, akashic record readings, and spiritual healings, and all kinds of good stuff.
And I've known everybody for a little bit of time. I think, unfortunately for Scott, I think I've known you. Actually, no, I think I've known Pam the longest. Yeah. Poor people. Okay, so how did you guys get involved in, and I'll give you guys each enough time to answer, to get involved in, and I'm going to put it into one big ball, the Akashic Records and past lives. Was there one thing that sort of, stood out that's like, okay, that's, it sounds interesting, or it's just, it came as part of the package of who you are? Pamela.
Well, for me, I've always remembered my past lives. I grew up in a mystical type family. My mother was had like shaman type stuff. So she would journey in her dreams, and we would talk about her dreams and her journeys. But I would tell her and my family about the lives I had prior to this life, And until, the family started telling me I was weird and crazy and stuff, and then I was very analytical about it, and I just tried to get as much information from my clients as possible as far as names, dates, locations, events that could be verified, because it's really important for me to be able to get specifics for my clients so they can verify that information.
Well, I know that you did a reading for a friend of mine. Not going to use his name because it's a thing to ask him before. And he was able to, with the description, he was able to go back and find the person in this life. And it's funny thing was because the gentleman, as I know him now, has no mustache, but he always used to do that thing with the mustache, like Scott probably does it quite often, and where you sort of put your finger, the guys will put their fingers and rub down their mustache, and he would do that, like that, Scott, but he never had a mustache. But the gentleman who you said he was in a past life, he had this honking big mustache, and then it would just go down right down the sides of his, and it just fit him so perfectly. It was exactly some of the things that you had said to him were exactly who he was. And it's really cool, I think, that you can go back and find out that your past life was.
And with him particularly, it was really fun because he was able to find it not only in the history books, but actually an image of this person. And when he sent it to me, the resemblance was uncanny. And it was like, what? That's your brother. So that's very exciting when we can get that type of information. There's a lot of information in the akashics, but when I was doing hypnosis or in the beginning, it was very, very, very specific, trying to get specific detail information. But there's a lot in there we can do. Everything's in the akashic records. Everybody's soul family, and their soul group, every commitment, vow, and oath is also in the records. So we can go through our history and our genetics. We can find our soul family and our angels and our guides, our spirit guides. We can work through traumas in this life, going in the akashic records to see where that began, so we can resolve it now, so we can move forward in this life.
Candy, it's your turn. Do you remember what brought you to the search of, or the interesting section of akashic records and past lives?
I would say about 5-6 years ago, I was very interested in past lives. And before that, I would have dreams about my own, in the Civil War and in all these other arenas. So I said, I really want to learn more about it. So I prayed on it. And actually, I'm angel taught. The angels decided, okay, you're going to do this. And they taught me how to do it. So I wrote everything down, how to do it, and the regressions and how to read into past lives. And they said, you already have it inside you. Just do it. So all it really took was confidence, and then I started to do it, and actually do it in my group on Facebook. I just do the past life readings into who the person was. And like Pam, I'm really becoming more detail-oriented. Mm-hmm. So when I see a name, like this one gal, like, you're related to the Tyson chicken. No, I'm not this lifetime, but in this one life in the 1800s. So I actually said, okay, I know what your name is. So I went ahead and I looked back, and I found her, which was really cool. So I went ahead and I said, okay, this is who you were, and I got everything I told her. She goes, man, I wish I had that money.
That'd be nice.
But yeah, it's so fascinating. I've always been into the akashic records. I didn't even know that I was visiting the place, and when I was doing the psychic readings, since I was a kid. I used to have dreams about going into this huge library, and I didn't even realize it until my 30s when someone said, yeah, do you realize that you've been visiting that place? And I'm like, I have no idea. I just know I can go there.
Okay. And Scott, I'm going to have to unmute you because I muted you because you were like your fan was making lots of noise. Okay, because you're a little bit different. You're the hypnotherapist, and you do past life regressions, and not in the way that the ladies do. They do past life readings. So, what started you on with the hypnotherapy? How did you decide to do past life regressions?
I started off as a healer, working in churches. Then I ran the healing groups, and then I was given the opportunity of having a free hypnotherapy course, which costs approximately £2,000 for the course. I was given it. We're eternally grateful to that nice wee lady. Past lives, I get into that from people asking for it, from who are more sort of spiritual rather than people looking to stop smoking and fear of flying and all that sort of stuff. So past lives have been requested rather than used all the time.
Okay.
It's also been a case of, with a lot of the past lives that I do, I'll start again. When I take somebody on a hypnotherapy session, it's like a guided meditation. I've set areas I take people to relax their body, then relax their mind, and then get them into a deeply hypnotic state. And then we get to a place where there's usually lots of doors. I'll say to them, your higher self has decided, or you've decided you want to see your past life today, and your higher self has one in particular that you can look at, would like you to look at behind one of the doors. They then find the door that they want to have a look at, which one draws them. If it's feeling hot or cold or tingly, they usually know which door they're going to. A lot of detail to enhance the session, and then they go into the past life. Of all the ones that I've done, not all have been real, well, inverted commas, real past lives.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time I've found that it's been a case of somebody has a particular problem in their life. Maybe that's why they're looking at past life to see if it's impacting on this life.
Okay.
So when they go into through the door and then they see what's going on, they describe the clothes, how old they are. I take them backwards and forwards in time until the very end, when they're seconds from death, on their deathbed or whatever. And then I get them to review their life and see how it impacts on, review that life and see how it impacts upon this life. Quite often it's more a case of, or I believe it's more a case of, it's something they need to address in this life, and I don't think it has anything really to do with a past life. However, I have had several who, when I've been talking to them, the cadence of their speaking changes. There's even a slight accent change. Their face changes. The whole relaxed face changes. And I don't think I'm seeing it on a psychic level. It's more their face actually changes. Their muscles change positions. Those ones have been quite interesting. But the majority of the ones I believe have been lessons their higher self has told them they need to address in this lifetime, rather than looking at a previous lifetime, if that makes sense.
Yep. Oh, excuse me. Why do I?
I was that interesting. You nearly fell asleep. I am so sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
You know what?
Okay.
Can I say something to Scott?
Yes.
You know what, Scott? I have noticed that I had a client on Friday, and you were saying that it was probably issues from this lifetime, but yet they're showing it from, another life. When you just said that, my whole body just like shivered. It's like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what happened to this woman. Thank you for saying that.
All right. No such thing as a coincidence.
No.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I don't believe in coincidences either. Everything happens for a reason. So, but you hammer that home, because that's what I thought too, and I feel like that I was supposed to hear that from you, to say, okay, that's not a coincidence. That's exactly what happened with her. So thank you.
That's all right.
Okay.
It seems that sometimes with people, but it seems that sometimes with the people I've had, it's easier for them to accept they need to make a change if they have a look at this adventurous past life. It can be anything from a change of sex, it can be a change of location, being a slave, or being whatever, being drowned, or however that life seems to go. It seems to be more of an adventure, and they need that to apply it to their life rather than themselves telling them they need to apply it to this lifetime. So it's easier to dress it up, I think, as a past life sometimes. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
One thing is if you guys have something to say, just say it. Don't worry about interrupting.
Okay.
There's no pattern to you guys should know me by now. There's no way I do things. I don't do things normally.
Yay!
There's nothing normal about Mama D. Oh, look, we have another guest in the chat room. Okay, so if anybody in the chat room has a question and you want to type it in, do it in capitals so I can see it. Unless you know how to change the color of your ink and put it in bright red or something. I don't know, just because my mind is kind of like all over the place. So, okay.
Full of butterflies and candy floss.
Yeah, butterflies.
Dogs are shouting, saying hello.
Which one is that?
That's the eldest one shouting at the youngest one.
Okay. They have communication problems. Okay. I had come up with a couple of questions thanks to the help of a dear friend. Okay. If everything we have and done or are about to do is written in the Akashic records, where does free will come in? Was a question from somebody who shall remain nameless. Eric.
Free will, yay! Love that topic.
Okay.
Free will comes in. There's certain things in our life that we have on a soul level signed up to do. So those things are like being born, deciding to get married or not, deciding to have children or not. Those are kind of things that are kind of written in the Akashics. This is how it's going to be. But everything in between that is free will. So we can make our choice. So it's like I see we have more than one way to learn a lesson. There's one way to get to the light or wherever we're trying to go in life. So when I see people, there's usually like two roads for them to choose from. So that's our free will. We get to choose our free will. We get to choose what lessons we want. We get to choose if we want those lessons to be easy or hard. Those are our choices.
Okay, but some of the lessons that some of us have gone through are hard. Why would I have chosen a difficult lesson? Why wouldn't I have chosen an easy lesson?
You had to remember that when we talk.
Oh, Pamela, you muted yourself. Hang on. I'll unmute you. You should be unmuted now.
Yeah.
Okay, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
So when we're talking about, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're talking about why would I sign up for this, we didn't sign up for this. We had free will to choose this. So it's not like we signed up for a hard time or an easy time. It's really our upbringing. It's our belief systems that we have that was given to us by our families and our churches and our schools that told us that life has to be easy or hard.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that, Pam. I totally agree with a lot of what you said. I would really like to add something here too. With me, pain has been a part of my life, constant. I mean, not like not like muscle pain, not like diseases or things that people have, but with me, it's like injuries and surgeries. And I feel that I wrote this in yay or nay on my part, because some of these things are, you could have done that or you could have done this, and could have avoided it. But I feel like I have gone through it because it keeps me grounded. I just went through a torn muscle in my shoulder, and I had to go through physical therapy. And it finally hammered at home is pain keeps me grounded. It keeps me humble. So I thought, okay, so now when I'm walking through life, I'm like, okay, I have a choice.
So you're gaining a virtue. You're actually gaining a virtue by this choice or this lifestyle or these lessons that you have been learning in your life. You're actually gaining virtues, which on a soul level, that's why we're here, to gain virtues.
Yeah, and I'm realizing I'm not Supergirl. I'm blonde and walking and chewing bubblegum at the same time. Doesn't work most of the time for me.
Right.
Because
when we talk about the akashic records and past lives, I think one of the things for me as a practitioner is, some people come to me and then they get all wrapped up into a past life. It's really not about that. It's really resolving those past life stories so you don't keep having patterns in this lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see patterns repeat with people. I'll just look at them and I'm like, okay, that past life, oh my gosh, and I have a friend. I'm like, do you realize that you have repeated this pattern that you're on? I could probably go through each and every past life and we're really close. And she just looked at me and she says, you know what, I think you're right. And I said, now's the time to wake up and really take a look at this. You want to come back and do it again? And she's like, no, not really. And I said, change. It's solely up to you.
Yeah, so I think on a third dimensional level, consciously, our conscious mind, our ego mind, there's just no way we can comprehend that we would choose a hard road or pain and suffering and chronic pain and struggles. And then on the other side of the coin, we cannot remember where we came from on a soul level. Otherwise, we wouldn't want to be here. We would definitely want to go back where there's no pain and there's no struggle.
Very true.
You know what's funny is I remember that. It's weird because I remember when I was 6 months old. That was when I saw my first spirit, and I remember where I came from. Maybe that's why I've always wanted to leave, exit. Where's my exit point? Maybe I can just jump off But everything, I always have a dream about Christ or, a deceased family member saying, always pulling me back down to earth. Fascinating.
Okay, Scott, do you have anything to add to this? Besides the face empathy.
Yes, little madam shares. Anyway, no, I had a friend, he died a year or so ago. He was very much into, what's it called? A Course in Miracles, ACIM. And a lot of the discussions we had, he was quite evangelical. He came into religion, he came into spiritual thinking late on in life after being a completely material and money-orientated person. Some of the many discussions we had were about the fact that time is linear in our understanding. So we start off as a child and whatever else. So we understand time is linear. But from what we discussed and other things I've read, what if time is in a pancake? A lot of pancakes all stacked up together. So all these past lives are all happening at the same time. There's only one soul, this bit that's listening just now. But what if it's all joined together, and what if it's all getting all these different experiences to understand what's going on? So if it's all linear, then that doesn't make sense. But if it's all happening at the same time, then all these experiences, it's quite fascinating, really. It makes your head bend, because we understand time is linear. It happens one life after the other. But what if we've had them all at the same time?
Kind of mind blowing, isn't it?
And I think this is what I like about this conversation that we're having, that it's opening up a lot of doors, a lot of questions. In the chat room, Fellini wrote, to me, the Akashic Records doesn't stop any of the free will, because if time and space have no meaning in energy, we do have free will. But the Akashic Records knows no time, so what you decide is there, but only because it has no meaning. Probably would have gone better sooner, but I had to read it anyway. Time has no meaning.
No.
Correct. In the Akashic Records, time does not have no meaning. There's no such thing as time. It's a vibration. It's an energy. You know, it's where psychics go, psychic mediums. That's where all their information comes from. It's the Akashic Records. So everything is in the Akashics, and there's no time, and time has no meaning. Are we saying we all have past lives? I believe everybody has past lives and or our past lives, our ancestors. Who knows? I mean, it's kind of all. Yeah.
Tammy, you muted yourself again.
I'm not muting myself, so I don't know.
Okay, so
I think it's the energy. The Akashic Records are doing this.
Donna, keep us quiet. Well, as long as it be, I'm okay.
And what if past lives are different aspects of our soul? So everybody's past lives that has one is all part of the same soul, one single soul.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a friend who believes in that this life is a dream for us. It's just we're dreaming this. That when this body here passes, I wake up in my other life. So when I fall back to sleep, my new dream is my new life. So again, it's not. So she, in a way, she believes that our past lives, our future lives, are all dreams. Any thoughts on that one?
That's a strong one in the Course in Miracles as well. It's all a dream. There is no right, there is no wrong, there is no evil, there is no... Whatever we do here, it's just an experience, it's just part of the dream. I had a problem getting my head around a lot of what he was saying, but some of it's stuck.
Okay. Can we go to previous lives to change or alter events that affect us now, and we learn our lesson in this one? It's from Serena.
For me, I say yes. They cannot be changed, but they can be resolved. So when we're dealing with going to the past, we can't change the past, but we can resolve what happened in the past. We can resolve the feelings and the emotions that are tied to that past life and resolve. And we can bring those lessons forward in this life so you don't have to continue with those lessons. And then we can put everything back in the Akashic Records so if they want to be reviewed again at another time. But for doing our past lives is really to resolve the past lives. We can't change them, but we can resolve them.
Okay, so like Nell says, past lives are for us to learn from and not to repeat. But if we didn't learn from it, then I'm guessing we're going to repeat it. Eric Glenn in the chat room said, Spirit told me that they don't like past lives as much as they like, each life is separate, but lives are linear, so it's a previous life experience, not a past life experience. So it's a way of phrasing it instead of saying past life.
Nobody's right and nobody's wrong.
Exactly. Okay, next question. The Akashic Records. Some people believe the Akashic Records are kept here on Earth, and some people believe the Akashic Records are up in the heavens, in the universe. Thoughts on that one?
You know, my thoughts are, as long as I can access them and help people, to me it doesn't matter.
Okay.
The they were underneath the Sphinx in the pyramids in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know. To me, it really doesn't matter where they're at. It's a vibrational thing. And I just go with that.
Good one.
But that's like, it's also like saying, where is heaven? When we all point up at the skies and look at white fluffy clouds and hope that's where we're all going, sort of thing. But it's just where it is. We're waking up and there it is. I think.
Marking off as other ones. Okay, if we... Ooh, this is an interesting one. Why do we need to be hypnotized to regress to a previous life? Or is it something that we may have read, and it stays in our subconscious? Like some people may think, I've just finished reading a book on Native Americans. So then when I have a dream or I have something where somebody turns that I was a Native American in a past life. You know, what makes, or if you're doing a past life regression for somebody who's not reputable, there's my big word for the day, and they just sort of, go with a dream and say, yes. So how are you with, I'm not saying anybody is reputable, not reputable, and asking for names type of thing, but how can you, like when Pam, when you did mine way back when, you gave me a couple, and it made sense to me in my head, but it's not something I can prove. You
right.
know? But how can... Go ahead, sorry.
But why do you need to prove it, one? You need to prove it for your ego, right? That's the only reason you need to prove it. The readings are to resolve things and patterns and programs in your life. That's really what an akashic reading is for, is to help you find your purpose in life, to help you resolve patterns and programs in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. As an intuitive reader and as a hypnotist that did it analytical, for me, I've done it always, the past lives. Hypnosis, I was able to get more details than I can doing intuitive readings, but that's a trust issue within myself and learning how to trust what I see and hear. So when I'm doing hypnosis and doing a regression, there's nothing on me. It's all them, and it's all them getting the information, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
so when
absolutely.
a regression on you, how do you know that's true, or a movie you didn't see, right? So it kind of goes in the same line. It's really there. The records are there to help us evolve. They're there to help us grow. They're there to help us heal, so we can be all that we're meant to be in this life.
Okay.
That's
And a good hypnotherapist or therapist will set up the intent for the session. When I've got somebody who's coming for a past life regression, they've come for a past life regression, and that's what we focus on, and that's how we set it up. The hypnosis part, they don't have to be hypnotized to do a past life regression. But if you're just sitting as you are just now, which is a very light state of hypnosis, because you're listening to my voice, you can do a lot more than you can if you're just sitting and listening to the car going past and the dogs barking outside and people going past in the street. All hypnosis does to help you with your past life regression, or a guided meditation does, is take you into a nice, calm, quiet place that makes you focus on yourself and look inwards. So the hypnosis bit helps. Sometimes it needs to have somebody in a very deep state, a deeply relaxed state of hypnosis for them to see things clearly, because some folk don't visualize very easily. So, but it really depends on the person. They'll go as deeply into the state as they want to. But it just makes it easier because they're not listening to any noises outside. They're just focusing on their little journey to go and see the past life that their mind has said that they're ready for just now. You mentioned something about a bad life or being a naughty person in a previous life.
Yeah, that was Nell's question. If you've done wrong in a past life, can you
that's
come back?
That's the intent that their mind has said, because I say to them, most other therapists say to them, your higher self or some aspect of you has said, this is the life that you're able to deal with and look at today. Mm-hmm. Your mind wouldn't give you something that you couldn't deal with. So if it means that you're going back to look at somebody who was very naughty, then that has a reflection in your life right now, I believe.
Okay. Nell in the chat room says, I believe once you've finished here on earth, then you move on to become an angel spirit helper, but you are finished with the human body.
That can be for some souls, but my experience is doing akashic record readings. I have seen people that have many lives that are similar to this life, like a musician. Mm-hmm. So I've had musicians come to me struggling in this life, but in their akashic records, I saw they had many lives as creative artists. Okay, so they've been successful, and they haven't been successful. They've done this, they've done that, but all their past lives all line up with musician and creativity. And then you have people like me that's all over the board. I'm here to do a lot of healing on karma level for a lot of humanity. My life lessons, I've been everything. I've been in all countries and all over the world. And you know, so I think some people, yeah, they probably could come for one life, but your whole point is to get to a level that your highest vibration would be like, say your highest vibration in your mind would be to achieve Jesus level or Buddha level. So if you can do that in one life, you would only have one life. But our goal as a soul is to achieve that level, to be a higher angel, and the angels have many levels up there. Just like in corporate world, you have entry-level angels and you have your hierarchy angels. So if you want to just be a lower-level angel, you can go back and be a lower-level angel. But while you're over there helping people in the Akashic records, your soul might decide, oh, I'm ready to evolve to the trials and tribulations of this planet on this earth, so you can evolve and become a higher level.
But then we had a conversation on another radio program that I was in, where, or I think it might have been one of the previous ones in Intuitalks, most of us believe that you go to the heaven that you expect to go to. So therefore, if you've gone through your life believing that there's past lives, there's reincarnation, the Buddhist pathway or whatever, then that's what you're going to expect. But if you decide that I'm doing it once and that's it, do the best I can, learn what I need to do, and then off I go and I'm going to become an angel or go and become whatever, then maybe that's what we do. Or if it's just a case of that, we've decided that we need to be reincarnated, so we get reincarnated.
There, I've seen, or not seen, but I've heard many people say that this is it, this is my last life, I'm not coming back again, I'm done. You know, because this life has been difficult. Yeah. So how much of, you know, if I'm saying, this is it, I'm done, I'm over, Mama D's not coming back once, and, you know, that's it, kaput. How much of our will now depicts on whether or not we actually, you know, we realize that when we get across, you know, or above or whatever, do we realize that, you know what, I haven't finished everything I've done?
Exactly. When you get across, you'll find and you'll discover, when you see the big picture, we never see the picture in life. We don't even see what we're going through right now unless we do a lot of journaling and look back over it to see how much we've grown, evolved, and experienced. So to say that we're done here now, yeah, it's really been hard, especially with us light workers and empaths. There's so many of us, and it's really, really, and we've been dropped in families that we didn't align with to give those families opportunities to raise their vibration and to grow and to evolve, but we didn't fit in those families. So it's not like, it's really just kind of mind-blowing. I just say God is just, it's just mind-blowing why we're here. It's not for one reason, and I don't think we can ever put it for one reason why we're here. But I think as a human in a human body, it's very painful. I think it's probably even painful just to be here because of the gravity on the body. And being, and as an angel, or we were all angels, and we came and was born into a body, it's a very heavy body, and it was very hard for us to adjust.
True.
You know, it's interesting what you were saying earlier about, you know, I want to be done. I want to, you know, I think all of us have said that, you know, we just want to throw in the towel. But I have actually, as I'm reading past lives on certain people, not everyone, and it's rare, I literally don't see them coming back to this plane of existence, this planet. I might see them doing other things, going to other universes or other galaxies, but literally they are graduating from this place after this life. And it's so rare. And the people I see it in does not surprise me whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Serena in the chat room, she says, I had a friend who died in hospice. She went on to study and take courses to learn how to work with a healer who specializes in hospice patients.
Oh, good for her.
Absolutely. That's what we need, healers, is in hospice. Because if you can think about it, you're in hospice in your final stage here, and to have a healer that can give you peace would be a pretty magnificent thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that, we got two Sharons. That's one of the things that, here I go, my unicorns are farting butterflies and rainbows again, that we need more people like that who will do the study to help those crossover, to transition. Because as much as difficult as life is here, it is what we're dealing with now. And if we want to make it better, we need to work with it and work with each other. So, you know, like I said, farting rainbows and butterflies. The healer works with the woman who helped her in the crossing. Okay. I think that your friend, I think that you are also very blessed with that friend, Serena. So, yeah.
Yeah, that would
Thank
be
you,
hard
Bill.
work.
Yeah.
Working with hospice. I have a friend whose mother is in the last stages of cancer, and she has hospice, and she said this woman is an amazing angel, and I mean, what they do is so special. You know, God bless her soul.
One time, sorry. Hi, Nancy. Spelled your name really badly. And Nancy. Yeah. Okay, lost my train of thought because I was going anyway. Again, anybody in the chat room have a question? I know Bill asked one a little earlier. Can anybody, and I kind of sort of know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can anybody do past life readings?
Yes.
Yes.
Boom. Okay, drop the mic.
Okay. You can be trained in hypnosis, or you can learn to do meditation and communicate with your angels and guides, and they'll teach you. And I've done both, actually. So the meditation works great, and the regression works great. So anybody can do it.
Okay. No, in the chat.
There are people who do like a psychic reading, but they do it as a past life reading. rather than doing a past life regression.
Yes.
Those have a little bit of a problem, really, because I'm a bit of a skeptic in some things. I accept it as a possibility, and I'm open to the possibility, but I'm still a skeptic and thinking, well, if I say to Darlene, well, the red hair, I can see a druid in your past, a big Celtic connection. You've got a love of things Irish and Scottish and and there's a definite Celtic. I'm sure I can see you. And I can tell you anything. How with a psychic reading or a spiritual reading, there's at least some sort of evidence that you can look at and you can say yes or no to. But for somebody to say to you, in the past life you were a Native American and you did this, and I have a problem. And I'm a skeptic, and you know.
Yeah, I think
that went down quiet.
No, that's totally fair, and that's totally fine. Because Scott, even when I just did hypnosis before I started doing the stuff I do now, I was very analytical, and I would just get the information and move on down the road. And I got crazy information doing past life regressions. But as a psychic reader now, I have been trained, and I've taken a lot of training because I'm very, I want to be very authentic with my message. I get that same information now, so I find it very interesting. But it's very fair, Scott. I was the same way.
Well, one of the readings, when Pam did my reading, way back in the day, she saw me as a little cowgirl. She said pigtails and a little cowboy hat and cowboy boots, and I was taken by the natives, and not as a slave, but as the playmate for the chief's daughter. And I grew up with the Native Americans, and I never went back to my, as I'll call them, my white family. And I ended up marrying a Native American man who took pity on me because I was an old white woman. Hello, I think. But for me, I was like, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's just fascinating, when we can see stories and then we can align them in this lifetime. I just think it's very fascinating.
Because see, the reason that one really interested me, sort of like hit the light, turn the light switch on for me, was because for the longest of times, I've always been drawn to native drumming and a lot of things native. And somebody once sat, and when I had my long hair, I had it braided down the side one time, and someone said to me, "My God, you look like a squaw," and I went, "Thank you." To me, they were trying to phrase it as an insult, but to me it was a compliment, and I mean, look here, white skin, blue eyes, red hair, yeah, Scotsman, Irishman all the way, but the Native American side, it draws me so way crazy. So I mean, no, squaw is an insult, yeah, but you know what? It depends on how you take it, and I get it's an insult to Native Americans, that squaw is an insult. I get it. But because he wanted it to be an insult, I didn't want it. I didn't take it to be an insult. So right. That's why. Yeah. Okay. Sharon in the chat room is here. So are you saying that past life in Akashic is the same as reincarnation, or are the two things different? Oh, good one. Scott?
In some cases, I think it's reincarnation. And other things, it's information that our higher self's bringing in to help us in this life, help change something that's happening right now. So I think both.
Right, I agree with Scott. I think it's both. And like I said, you could do a past life reading, and it could be an ancestor, one of your ancestors that you have reincarnated into this lifetime. I mean, it's just not one clear-cut answer. What's in the Akashic is everything for everybody.
let me just get into something that's in the chat room. Yes, I know the word squaw was supposed to be an insult, and that's the way the person, I won't even use the word gentleman, that the person used it at that time. But I'm the type of person who you can do pretty much anything to me, and no matter how much you think it's going to be an insult, I'll turn it around. You know me, I'll turn it around into something good. And I get it. You know, it's not meant, it's like the N-word, you know. It's an insult, but it's used so much now, and so I get it that it was an insult, but I wouldn't take it that way. Not that I didn't. I wouldn't take it that way. Because to me, that just, you know, and Nell, I would never call you a squaw because you would kick my butt. So no, I get it that it's an insulting term like the N-word and a whole bunch of other words that are out there. But it just depends on how you take it.
You know, I agree with you. I was raised in a Maidu Indian family for 5 years, and my adoptive father was he called his family Indians, you know, and people take that wrong. And it's like I've always identified myself as, you know, the little white Indian because I was his little, you know, I was his baby girl, even though I was, you know, adopted into the family and looked nothing like him, of course. You know, I look like more like a vampire, but because I'm pale and, you know, blue eyes and blonde hair, and the rest of the family, you know, were dark skin, larger, dark hair, and you know, it's just crazy the way people take things nowadays, especially something like that. You know, when I was in school, I'm like, yeah, I'm from an Indian family, and I had like a group attack me, and I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to take this as an attack, people, because I even took on the name. So, and to me, it was a compliment. You call me an Indian? I'm proud of that.
Again, it just depends on the way the person accepts it.
Exactly.
For me. Quick one in the chat room from Eric Glynn. Must admit, Scott, my brother from another mother, I do previous life experiences and ask Spirit to give things from previous life experiences to enhance their lives now, to answer reasons for phobias and worries. Just because you had said it too. And you know what? Skeptics are appreciated because, you know, Scott, you and Eric, you have both done readings in my shows, and I've had skeptics who've listened, and you've knocked them on their fannies when they sat there and went, holy shit, how'd they know that? So.
That's another American word that's quite, not a best one in UK British. The F word.
The F word?
Yeah. We knocked him onto it. That one. That's not a good British word. It's not a good British word. That's a better British word.
There you go. Nell in the chat room says, my native name is... Okay, it means wolf woman. Suman Itu Willen? Oh God, did I crucify that one now? Yay, well done, darling. Fanny. Yes, okay, I won't say Fanny anymore. Tush, bum, arse, okay? I'm not going to go with that, am I? Not going to embarrass me. Can't do that.
Oh, yes, I can.
Oh, no, you better not. Wife is right over there. Yeah. I don't know why I would change. She's next to you, but she's got the fly swatter handy. There you go. See? Anyway, she's in the same room. Behave yourself. Okay. When somebody comes to you for a past life regression, is there anything okay, for hypnosis, here's my thing. I have only had one experience in the way of somebody trying to hypnotize me, and didn't go very well because I didn't feel comfortable with this person. I had the feeling that they had ulterior motives, so it never happened. And as a child, I have a very limited memory on some of my childhood things. But as a child, I fell asleep watching somebody painting and woke up to not a very nice experience going on. So for me, that was a release, letting go of control. Okay. So when came to in my teen years, when somebody wanted to do a hypnosis on me, and I had that feeling that something wasn't right, so I wouldn't let go of control. If somebody comes to you, like, I trust Scott, I trust you with my life because your wife would kick your ass if she didn't. But how do you deal with people who have control issues?
With hypnosis, with past life regression, sometimes they don't need to go in terribly deep. Explaining to somebody what the session's going to involve, what's going to happen, what they'll feel, what they should see, or what they might see, or what might happen. Explaining it all to them, getting them to ask questions, answering their questions honestly. Generally, when they first contact you, it's from a telephone call. It's very rare for it just to be purely written down in a text or email. They speak to you, and when you're speaking to somebody, most folk can pick up whether they like that person or not. When they go for the session, I'm a mobile service, so I go to folks' houses. But when you first meet up, you can sort of feel whether the situation is good or bad, like you described in that time you did it. Generally, if somebody has got control issues and doesn't want to be hypnotized terribly deeply, they won't be. But you can do an awful lot just with them in a very light state of hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And for example, right now, everyone who's listening just now is lightly hypnotized. That can be enough, this level of hypnosis that we've got right now, because folk are listening to what I'm saying or watching the screen. That's enough for some people to do some work. And because I don't believe in coincidence, I know that the people who are coming to me or people I go to are people that I can work with regardless of what level of hypnosis I can get them to. Sometimes the first one is just purely for them to experience a guided meditation. And the second time is when the work is done. But I just trust.
Pamela? She's gone.
She's fallen off her chair.
I'm here. I had to get to my phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
So you do hypnosis as well. So how do you deal with people?
I was one of those people that could not be hypnotized. So I have a great compassion for especially women that have trust issues with being hypnotized. So I agree with Scott. Usually, with the phone conversation, the person knows that they trust you enough if they're going to work with you and come into your space. For me, it's taken a lot of work, specifically for me, to work through the trust, and I kind of shifted my hypnosis practice to guided meditation because I was one of those that was hard to hypnotize, and I attracted a lot of women like that. So it worked. The guided meditation was able to accomplish a lot of things, and then when they could come back, it would be easier, and then they would start getting hypnotized. But it's all about trust and being comfortable, in my experience.
James. Candy.
Yeah, I actually, what Scott was saying, that people come to you who are supposed to, and I have found that to be true. I actually worked with my friend's daughter, and I started working with her when she was like 15, and she was having a difficult time, and she didn't realize how many abilities she possessed herself. So I started to do some regressions on her, and it opened her up to a whole new road. And I'm like you guys with, I'm very cautious when it comes to women with control issues or fear issues, phobias, anything like that. And I don't take people very deep. I make sure that they're, they can hear the sound of my voice, and I can tell if they're going too deep. And sometimes I'll try to pull them back up, if they feel any kind of fear. That's the last thing any of us really, truly want our clients to feel is fear.
Mm-hmm.
What a horrendous feeling. Can you imagine going through this the first time and you're scared to death?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, we have 2 questions in the chat room, both from Nell. First one is, do you believe if a person doesn't want to come back, they can do something so that they won't come back, even if they were meant to repeat this life as a human?
But it's free will. You can't be forced to do anything. If you decide you're not going back, then hey ho, when you get there, why should you come back?
Yeah,
absolutely true.
I think we all agree on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Nell's going to come back and be my guide, like Teddy is for Eric. God help us all.
It makes such a change for women to agree with what I'm saying. I just can't understand it, really.
Oh, shut up or I'll mute you. Okay, next question in the chat room from Nell again is for Scott. Do you believe if someone is going to put you under, one needs to be very careful due to the fact that the person can do more harm than good to some people?
With hypnosis and hypnotherapy, you have to give permission to the therapist to allow yourself to go very deeply. I'm not explaining that very well. I cannot hypnotize you against your will. Nobody can hypnotize you against your will unless they use heavy-duty chemicals, torture, sleep deprivation, negative things like that. You cannot be hypnotized unless you choose to allow yourself to be hypnotized. Anybody can learn how to do hypnosis and work with somebody, and anybody can learn how to do hypnotherapy. However, in this case, I think it's always better to go on a course so you get some sort of certification and training so that you can be the best that you can be, and also so that you can learn some of the things like ethics, how to deal with people, who you should deal with, how you should deal with them. To do more harm than good, absolutely. One of the things when somebody's in a deeply suggestible state is the therapist has to be very careful. For example, in a past life regression, the therapist has to watch the questions that we ask. One of the first things I ask folk when they walk through their door is, where are you? Are you inside, outside? Whereabouts are you? And then I ask, is there anyone there with you? Are you on your own? Are you with somebody? Whereas if I said to somebody, are you outside? And then if I asked them, who's with you? By saying who's with you, that implies that there's somebody else in there, so their brain might just click in and materialize somebody.
So you're
we have to be careful. Yeah. So training and going on a course would help with making you think of these things. But it's a case of, it's really up to you. If you feel comfortable with the therapist and you trust what they're saying, then generally you're going to be allowing yourself to go reasonably deeply, or as deeply as you can be in that first session that you have with them. When you're hypnotized, you cannot give out any information that you do not wish to divulge. Quite often we go into a past life or a bit of analysis and look at some sort of problem that the person has. If they're not, because we're watching the person as they're lying there, watching their face for tears or the little furrows in their forehead or their eyes changing, we're looking at the person. You see that they're having problems talking to you. So if it's something that you deeply don't want to tell anybody, you won't tell us, but we can work around it, because we'll say to you, give you a sort of generic description of something that you can do, like go into a bonfire, taking this problem and chucking it in the bonfire, and once you've done that, lift your finger or move your hand or give you a sort of physical sign that you've done the thing that we're talking about without you talking about it to us. Or something like blowing the problem into a balloon and letting the balloon go. Or we think something pops into the therapist's head as we're working with that person, but you will not give out anything that you do not want to talk about, but we can deal with working around that thing. That makes sense?
Does to me. Nell, does that help with that don't want to touch thing? Okay, ladies, I'm not sure who can see what, but one of the questions Nell asked in the chat room. Okay, night, Eric. He's gone. Poof. Do you believe a person? Oh no, that was a gentleman. I have some things really deep in me that I don't want anyone to touch on. Can one be stopped from digging so deep? So that's where Scott was going with that continuation on the question. Do you girls have anything on that?
Nope. I think that pretty much is cleared. I mean, the only thing that really comes up is things that will help you grow and evolve. Secrets or things that you're ashamed of. Mm-hmm. They will reveal things that you're ready to hear, things that you're ready to know, so your soul can evolve. So it's not going to reveal your secrets. And I think that's what everybody's concerned about when they do hypnosis or past lives or anything. They're afraid they're secrets. Everybody has secrets. And trust me, I really don't want to know anybody else's secrets. I have my own. But in my experience, the guys won't tell you secrets.
Yep, lost you. Pamela?
Yeah.
Okay, you went dead air for
in
a
and
second.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I got that high energy thing going. But basically, your secrets will not be revealed. Nobody's secrets are revealed. The therapist, the practitioner has secrets. Their client has secrets. The person next to you has secrets. The secrets will not be revealed because they don't help you evolve and grow.
Okay.
They're not going to help you solve your patterns and your programs that you're trying to solve and evolve.
Candy?
You know, when I work with someone, the only thing that is revealed is what they need to see at that moment in time.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing else. It doesn't go any deeper than that. And I like it that way.
Yep.
Me too.
In the chat room, Nell wrote... Go ahead.
Sorry, saying that sometimes when you're working on a specific problem, that thing in the past that Nell was talking about, sometimes this deep, heavy past thing will come in. When we come across that as a therapist, and we notice it and we talk about it, the person who's being hypnotized, you can say, no, you don't want to talk about it, or it's obvious you don't want to talk about it, but we can work around it. Things like the bonfire, wrapping it, it's all wrapped up in a parcel. It's there, ready to be dealt with in the future with a counsellor or one of these self-help groups, or at some other time in the future. But at the moment, it's not going to affect this present lifetime, this present situation, and they can throw that parcel onto the bonfire and let it burn away any ties it has to this current situation. But it might come in, but we don't have to deal with it. We can wrap it up and put it away somewhere and keep it safe, and but hey ho.
I like that. Excuse me. Nell in the chat room said, I was put under once, and the guy who did it put me so deep that I left my body, and something came into my body and wouldn't leave. And he had a hard time getting me back. It was evil. It took 3 hours to get me back. Roger, who was her husband, and his sister saw it all. What is your take on that?
That's frightening.
I mean, you have to be for me, you have to be careful of who you're working with.
Exactly.
Because people, there's all kinds of people out there with all kinds of background, and you really don't know their belief systems or even their background. So you can be in a situation, which has happened to me. Somebody implanted a memory in me that for 2.5 years I had to work on to resolve, and it wasn't even my memory. So you have to be very careful. Yes, you have to be very, very careful who you work with. Thank you. Who you work with, who you, especially in any type of spiritual work or hypnosis work, you need to know that they've been trained and who they've been trained with and by, and they didn't do a 2-hour video on the internet to become a hypnotist, right? You don't want that person hypnotizing you because they could bring in all kinds of things that they're not doing their own work. So yeah, they can bring in anything if they're not doing their own work.
And always use your intuition. You feel like the person, like what Scott was saying. I really like that he calls his clients first. That way he can talk to them. If you feel like it's just not going to work out, don't do it. Just don't do it. Always go with your intuition, because I made that mistake too. I went with someone that I wasn't too sure about, and I wound up actually hating that person, despising them later on down the road, because I felt, betrayed. I just felt so violated. Just
Okay. Question in the chat room, which kind of goes with this conversation. It's from Sharon. Is it proper to ask a person who is going to do the regression on you a list of questions before the session starts?
Yes.
Why not?
It's your session. Why wouldn't you want to ask your questions? It's all about you. It should be all about you. Your therapist or your counselor or your coach. Only be about you.
Yep.
I think it's
one of the things when I'm doing mine, I tend to I have a structured way of doing a hypnotherapy session or a regression session, which I follow every single time I do it. But on each journey I make with that person or with any person, they're always completely different. So how I get around the list of questions a person might want to know that I will be asking them, well, I can tell them generically, well, here's what I'll do with you. I'll take you to the door, you'll walk through the door, and then I'll start getting you to describe what you're wearing to get you a bit more focused on looking at things around you and observing things. And then we'll go forwards in time, we'll go backwards in time, we'll look at that life, at significant events, and then I'll take you to the very end. So I'll tell them what's going to happen, but I can't tell them the specific questions I'll ask, because I don't know what will happen during the session. If I get a response at one point, then I'll go off on a tangent, ask them all sorts of other questions. If there's nothing at that point, I'll move on and do the next significant event and work out the questions from that point and expand upon that one and look at that one. So you can't really say, I will ask you this, and this, because if you're doing that, then it's going to be a very stale and very frigid and clinical session. And for me, when I do it, I need to have free flow. I just go where my mind takes me, where the person in the session takes me, and where spirit takes me.
I agree with you 100%, Scott.
Women keep agreeing with me in this program. I'm loving this. No, it's an unusual experience.
You know what it means? It means you're more woman than you are man, because that's why you wear a kilt. I'm sorry, I had to pick on him. I was being so nice.
Yes,
hey, men in kilts are sexy.
I know.
Yep.
But don't tell him that. Oh, there we go again. He heard it.
Scott, men kilts are sexy.
That's the only reason his wife married him, was to get to see him in a kilt.
Wish my husband would wear one, but he wouldn't.
Oh, we can get him one and knock him out. Nice big rubber mallet on the head. Okay. In regards to this question, I think the way I read it, it's just me. It's kind of like Sharon would be asking, do you ask the, i.e., hypnotherapist or whomever the case may be, what their qualifications are? So to me, that's, you do that, because just like when you're looking for a doctor or a dentist, a plumber, a mechanic, or whatever, you have a list of questions that, and if it's a reputable person, they have no problem answering the question. It's like Serena in the chat room said she knows two women who claim to be Reiki masters, but she wouldn't let them touch her. And of course, that's not me. I'm too far away. But it's just, you have to be comfortable. And if the person that you're, i.e., I'm going to Scott for hypnosis, and I got a bunch of questions, and I get that feeling that I got when I was a teenager. Sorry, love you, but nah, you ain't going anywhere, So know their credentials. And more often than not, like I know Scott, he'll give you, his list of people that I'm sure that most people have clients that will say, yes, you can use me as a reference. If somebody wants to.
Absolutely.
So you have that as well. You don't have to, call up, hey, George, I want you to do hypnotherapy. Can I have, you want to send me an email of a couple of your clients so I can check into, ask a few questions, because this is my first time, and, it's a trust issue. You have to, like I said, for me, it's a trust issue that I have a hard time, releasing. For me, it's a releasing of control, and have that, but.
A lot of women are like that, though. A lot of women are, because they've dealt with things in their life. So as a woman, I've seen that, and as a hypnotherapist, and that's why I've kind of redirected my sessions to more a gentler approach, and I really don't do hypnosis anymore. But I think women deal with those two topics mainly, control and trust.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Question in the chat room. Do you recommend over the net to put someone under or not? I.e., can you do a hypnosis, do you know what I'm saying? Or like over Skype or in a show like this. Can you do that?
I have done.
Yes.
Yeah, I have done it. I have too.
I don't particularly like it.
I don't like it either, Scott, but I think some people are more easily hypnotized, or they get hypnotized by their parents, like my kids have, that are much more easily to hypnotize. Mm-hmm. And I've had clients whose parents were hypnotists, and they just go under just by hearing my voice.
Yeah. Well, right now your voice, Pam, your voice is like super staticky. No, it's like major static going on. Like, almost like there's a microwave running in the same place that you're at. So some people can't hear you.
Well, we'll try this way.
There we go. That's better. Leo sounds like an alien.
I've also done guided meditations in the old days when it was chat rooms that had only typing. And I've taken people on guided meditations and done all sorts of exciting things with dragons and angels and Merlin and all sorts of other things. And the people who've been sitting reading the words as they appear, they have somehow been on that journey that the words are describing and seen the things that I've been describing. It's really quite mind-boggling, because they've gone and they've done the things that the description of this guided meditation I was writing about. It's really quite fascinating. And quite often when I was typing it, before it was typed and appeared in the chat room, people were seeing it, and then the words come up immediately, and it was good. Nice green dragon. with dust and cobwebs and glasses, and sits in a library at the top of my tower.
It's an old soft day. I got myself in trouble with that one.
But on things like Skype, part of what I do as a therapist, and most therapists will do, is when you're with somebody, all your senses are involved, and you're noticing if their foot twitches when you ask a question, you see it out your peripheral vision, or you hear their breathing change, or you feel the energy change. On the internet, it's quite two-dimensional. Yes, it can be done, but I prefer to be there, so that if they do go very deep, like Neil mentioned earlier, or somebody mentioned earlier, if they go very deep, I'd rather be in the room with them, where I can do that and brush some cooler air against their face, or I can sit and talk to them and bring them back up a wee bit. But over the internet, it's just a little bit. And what if you've got them really, really deep and nice and deep, and you're working, doing marvellous things, and you have internet problems, or their internet crashes, or I'm a bit of a control freak. I want to be there with that person so I can do the best for that person. But if they're in Italy, like the person I had, if they're in Italy and they want a session, you've just got to do what you can and trust in spirit. Yeah, lots of folk, because they're not quite ready to go under. They've had hypnotherapy because somebody said, you need to stop smoking, or you need to lose weight, or you need to go and see a hypnotherapist. So they haven't been ready to go under, or they have control issues. So yes, we've all had problems putting somebody under, but once they've got past that initial reticence, or either that session or maybe having another one with you, it's easier because they don't fear what's happening. Sorry, I tend to talk a lot.
Pamela, did you have something to say?
I was very quiet.
Didn't hear you.
Okay. The question in the chat room was, have you ever had problems putting someone under?
No, not on with Scott. I mean, I've had people go under so deep that they actually physically got up and started acting out the scenes that they were in. And to think about having somebody go that deep and I'm not there to monitor them, I don't think I would be comfortable with that. But yeah, I have people.
Going again.
For some reason, she keeps getting muted.
I don't know.
It's okay. I'm trying to pay attention to it and get it and catch it before it goes too long. Okay, you said you have some people.
Yeah, I've had people go very, very deep. That they've actually stood up and started reacting and acting out the scene that they were in a past life. And I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody doing a Skype or a phone session, you know. So for me, I do Skypes and phone sessions. I do more guided meditations instead of a hypnosis.
Yeah, because the idea of having somebody else, because I was thinking as Scott was saying this and you were saying this, that you could have somebody else in the room, i.e., okay, I'm the client who wants to be hypnotized, I have somebody in the room, but if I'm still under headphones listening to you and going through the meditation, how's the other person going to know, you know, unless you sit there, see Scott going,
yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, I guess, again, you know, it's better.
Yeah, it brings up all kinds of challenges, you know, but as an experienced therapist that has seen people, their face change, their voice change, their persona change, and to even for me as a therapist to think that could happen to somebody when there's nobody there to help monitor that and make sure they don't harm themselves, would really bother me. And I would suggest not to do that because you never know how deep you're going to go. Because you can actually hurt yourself. I mean, I actually had a 300-pound man step into, he had many lives, and they were all around war and violence and murder. And this man stood up and started recreating and reacting out of past life, jumping up, jumping behind the furniture and stuff. And I was there to monitor him, make sure he didn't hurt himself. But if he was by himself doing that, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. Question before it pops out of my brain again. Can we have lives that kind of overlap?
Yes. I have read into that before many times, and actually it's really cropping up a lot lately.
Mm-hmm. Because here's my reason why the question pops into my head. Somebody who knows that you were alive in the 1920s, but then you have a second life that continued in the 50s, but there was a time where the both of you were sort of technically on the earth plane at the same time. That's what I meant by overlap, Leo. Because sometimes I think that there's, I think that there's one thing going on in my head that I'm remembering, but then something else sort of says, you were doing this at the same time, but, different aspects, same soul.
There's definitely belief systems out there about that, and that we all are, and I think even Scott touched on this earlier. If you get down to it and you keep going back, of the soul, we're the soul, we're of a soul group, we're of a soul family, we're all of one soul. So if we're all of one, then of course we could all be different pieces of a soul, or different people can have experiences of a past life of Cleopatra, right? So that's how that could happen. Because when you're doing past life readings and regressions and stuff, you will run into, I don't run into too many famous people, but I have run into people that have been around famous people.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know stories, and I've seen chats. People say, well, I was this in a past life, and somebody else says, well, I was too, and somebody else says, I was too. Well, if we're all from one soul, that's how that could possibly be achieved, is we're all just a fragment of a soul.
Okay.
And it could be a communal, it could be a communal pot of lifetimes, of soul experiences or life experiences. Because if you're going for a soul regression or a spirit regression or a past life regression or a reading, then there's generally a problem or something that's happening in this lifetime that you need to address. That's why you're going to the therapist or reader or doing a guided meditation. So therefore, if there is a communal pot of all these shards of all these different souls in their lifetimes that you can tap into, that gets applied to the problem that you have in your life and given to you as that past life experience, that might make some sense as well.
Okay. We all went quiet again.
Very quiet again.
Actually, I have a question for both Scott and Pam. Have you run across clients that have the same issue, lifetime after lifetime, and they just won't resolve it? How do you go about helping them resolve it?
Would that be the same as somebody that's been a murderer or murdered in every lifetime or gone to prison?
Similar that, or some other issue, like psychological one.
It was did the past life regression, and I don't know why I keep muting, Darlene. I really don't.
It's okay, we're better. Quick and draw.
But, I've seen, like the person that committed a lot of crimes in all their lives. In this life, he came to a therapist, I would think, to resolve life. which I don't even remember if he was a criminal in this life or not, or if he had those tendencies to be one. But I know he came to me because of the problems he was having in this life and the aggression he was having in this life. And by doing the past life and seeing all those lies, we were able to resolve. You can move forward in this life without all the aggression. Does that kind of answer your question? I'm not sure.
Yeah. What it's like I said, this one client I'm working with, I just did one regression on her, and I know what the issue is, and it keeps happening over and over again in different lifetimes, whether she is a mere observer or participant.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to just basically, I'm kind of asking for your advice. How do I mean, I've dealt with other people who have had minor issues, but this one is so deep-seated, it's almost like a huge gash in her. You know what I mean?
One thing I would ask is, one thing real quick is to see if you can find what she's learning, what virtues, what positive things this person's getting from these lifetimes to help resolve this.
Okay. I like that.
So, until you can figure out what you gain from it, then you can start changing the beliefs. Once the subconscious mind understands there's what you've been trying to learn, what virtue you're trying to gain, from that aspect, then you can start working on the beliefs, removing those beliefs and stuff, and those patterns and programs once they realize the virtues they've gained and they no longer have to keep doing this over and over.
And there's also, from the therapist point of view, it's quite dangerous is the wrong word, to know what the person's problem is. You can think that you might know, but you might be picking up on something else that's resonating with yourself. So
actually, I've been through the same issues.
Exactly. So you're seeing something in her that's shouting at you. So in that situation, if it was me, I would have stepped back a bit and got the person to look around more, take them on their journey in their lifetime, take them back a few steps to significant events and take them forward a few more steps. So they're seeing all the things that are happening, the significant events in that lifetime, and then at the very end, take them down in 5-minute increments towards the end of their life, or 15 minutes away, you're 10 minutes away from the end of your life. And then just before the point of death, you get them to step out of that body and stand beside and look at them and look at that lifetime and get them to work out what that life lesson was that applies to them now. They'll know. They really do. They know. So you have to be careful that it's not you that's manifesting in her the problem or identifying that problem when it could be something just to the right of that problem. So
I didn't.
Be aware of that.
What I told you, I didn't tell her. You know.
No, I understand that, but what we're feeling will guide the questions that we ask that person. So if you're saying, "Oh, I can see where your problem is."
Yeah, I couldn't even get her past the visual aspect. You know what I mean? She was She was just so stuck, glued to place. You know, just staring.
Yeah.
Couldn't. I mean, like you said, I really wanted to do that, and just was not working. She didn't. She refused to do that. So, I mean, she's a great healer herself.
Change what she's doing then. If you've got her in the lifetime, get her to look into a cupboard. And in the cupboard there's lots of drawers with different boxes in, or just let your imagination go wild. Get Spirit to give you a few ideas when you're in there.
Okay. I'll try that, because I tried all the tools I had in my box and nothing was working. It was just really weird. I've never ever had a client do that before. I mean, I've had clients go back and forth like what you were describing, Scott, and this one, I'm like, whoa.
That's okay. Then just make that an issue, because the issue might be that she's not ready to move on. So get her to just send herself some healing or put some healing into the situation and come back to it another time. and then just blow it into a bubble and let the bubble go off into the universe, be dealt with by the universe. But just today is not a day to deal with that particular problem. But make sure you've sorted it by putting it in a balloon or throwing it in a bonfire or writing it down visually in the imagination and ripping it up and setting fire to it and casting it to the four winds or throwing it into a stream. But just accepting the fact that there's a problem she can't get past and then just throw it away and let it be dealt with at another time. That might help.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely, yeah. I'll be working with her again another week or two. And we'll just we'll move on to other smaller things.
Yeah, the only other thing that it popped up was forgiveness. That's huge. Yeah. I mean, it's really huge. You can
She wasn't even there yet.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a catalyst. It's really the healing is at forgiveness. But if she can find virtues of why she's going through these trials and tribulations and these.
Hang on, we lost you again. Here we go.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Well, I hope that one helped, Candy.
Yes, actually, from both Pam and Scott. So I will.
Okay. But let them know how things, if you sort of things worked out a bit, and if you can't find them. The chat room, the Facebook chat will still be open. You can put it in there. Like, it worked. Kim in the chat room asked, are birth charts tied to us permanently? Are they different every lifetime, or do they keep the similarities? And let's see. Hopefully you've addressed.
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit a while ago. It's like sometimes the stories I see are all very similar, and sometimes they're totally opposites and different. So it just depends on that person and their journey and what they're supposed to.
I was reading. Okay, sorry. I missed the mute. Well, this has been extremely interesting. Again, for those of you who I'm going to put information in the chat. Okay, for those of you in the chat room, and for those of you who will be listening in the archives and the streaming and the whatever and the hoo-ha and the great beyond of Radio Land, if you want to get a hold of either Scott, Pam, or Candy, aka James, I'll put their links into the chat room. You can find all three of them over on Facebook: Scott Stevenson, Pam, Mystic Pam, and candy-odonnell. If you have questions about what we discussed in the show, just say, I listened to the show on Angel-Meadows, and then ask questions. But I would ask that you don't ask for a reading, because then that puts my guests on the spot, and I don't like my guests to be on the spot. Scott, you want to give me a reading? No, kidding. Only I'm allowed to do these silly things. And that's because I'm okay when y'all say no. Any other questions in the chat room? No. Okay. Well, first off, let me thank everybody who did show up. Brian, Clover, Fellini, Kimbo, thanks for staying, sweetie. Leo, popping in and out. Nancy, Nell, the Native Earth Lady. Pam, you've been there twice. Serena and Sharon. For those of you who had to leave, Eric, my brain's just gone on meltdown. And for those of you who are listening to us in in archives, thank you for listening. I thank my guests for my first roundtable. I think we went off pretty good. Just got to make sure Scott's got everything right in the first place.
Thank you so much, Mama, for having me. This is so much fun.
Well, we'll do it again. You never know.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. Like I said, the concept behind my show is that somebody somewhere is going to get an answer to a question, and that's all it takes is just to be able to help that one person. And then as far as I'm concerned, my job is done. I'd like to help everybody, but I know we can't. So at least one person. So.
Right.
Well, I'm going to sign out, everybody. Thank you very much, Scott, Pam, and Candy. I think I'm never going to stop calling you James. Thanks for showing up. And we will see you all next week. Same time, same place. Different show. Behave yourselves, everybody.
Thank
Night-night.
you. Thanks. Good night.
Night. Ta-da.